So I wanted to talk about vacations and how to vacation with kids because, as you know, if you are a parent, it is not easy. So take a look at this view. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful day. We're in Pismo Beach right now. And so I wanted to kind of just talk about how, I used to travel quite a bit. I traveled a lot. I've been to quite a bit of places around the world. I'm not, I haven't reached any world records, but I've done pretty good. I would say, I think it's about 35, 36 countries. I need to recount that. But, that was pre-Mila. And so that was hard, right? Or it's hard to do it now because as a parent, you can't really go very many places. However, I had always been a mom that said, I want to still do the things that I was doing before and with children. Don't be scared to go on vacations and do the things that you used to do. Now, obviously that's easier said than done. And I didn't have, the means or anything like that to make it really easy on myself. But you have your priorities and you figure out, where you're going to spend your money and whatnot. With that said, so since Mila was born, I I first lived with my parents in the beginning, and then once I got a job and moved back to California, because my parents live in Michigan, when I got a job and moved back to California, I was on my own. So I had basically it was just Mila and I. So finding a nanny, there were daycares, but I wasn't comfortable. She was about 6 months old at that point. I was not comfortable taking her to daycares. Now, there are plenty of wonderful daycares, and I'm not sure if there's any studies on if it's better to have a nanny or not. My comfort level was nanny. I needed a nanny for her full time while I was at work. I tried in the beginning because it's a hybrid schedule that I'm on. I tried in the beginning to do, the kind of I'll work while she naps type thing, but it didn't end up working out, especially as she got older and started walking and all that stuff. I had to do full-time nannying, and I'm going to try to remember exactly how that works for me. But I was hell-bent on finding a Filipino nanny because I'm Filipino, so I'm comfortable with my culture and my background, and I know there's plenty of wonderful nannies out there, but I wanted a Filipino one now, and I wanted an English speaking one. So what I did first, and this will go back to kind of like how public relations worked out for me. Now I'm in public relations. I was in journalism, which is, essentially kind of what you do after journalism. I was an on-air, reporter / TV host. And so you go into public relations afterwards. I got a job in public relations and working for this beauty brand. And now, so when I went to look for a nanny, I reached out to friends first. Friends in the area that had nannies in California, or, might know people that use nannies. My hair looks so gross, sorry. And so I reached out to them first, and I had, surprisingly, a lot of people had nannies that didn't speak English. So it was a priority of mine to find, now it's like a needle in a haystack. I wanted a Filipino one, and I wanted, one that spoke English, because Filipinos in general know English, speak English. They're raised in the Philippines to learn English. You'll find that out. I think like if you've ever been to the Philippines, almost everybody speaks English, poor or rich. So anyway, what I did was reach out to a few people, and I ended up doing, some interviews. I think I did 2 or 3 interviews. And, they're expensive, if you do the math on it. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. It was at least $20 an hour. You could try to bargain and go 18. I know I had some people tell me, yeah, I try to bargain with them type thing. So it was at least $20 an hour. Now, mind you, she is, and I didn't realize this at the time, at the easiest stage in her life. But, you know, I was like, okay, well, $20 an hour, you're not doing anything. But, you know, they're staying there all day. They're your caretakers. They can, you know, up that price because otherwise something will happen to your child maybe, or, you know, you gotta do background checks and all this stuff. Anyway, so I ended up finding 2 or 3. I found one that was Filipino, and then I found another one who is from Belize. And those are the 2 that I ended up going with, which is funny enough, after I had even went through these interviews, there was like 2 or 3 interviews that I went through. The first one I actually found off of Facebook mommy group. I think I went into a Facebook mommy group and looked for a Filipino nanny, and there's people that put their names or their recommendations on there. I think it was like one Filipino nanny that I reached out to. The other one might, if I did find another one, obviously it didn't work out. So anyways, I found one Filipino nanny, and then I found another nanny that was from Belize. So the Filipino nanny had kind of a crazy schedule. She also had a Filipino family that she was taking care of already. And so she had this schedule where the family had a nursing schedule. And that just didn't work out because I needed like an 40-hour work week with her. And it couldn't be like, sometimes she was available because because you know, there's nanny sharing. So nanny sharing is a thing, right? So if you only want a part-time nanny, now most nannies don't want part-time, they want a full-time job. But because she had kind of this like part-time gig, she wanted to, and you know, she was close with them, she wanted to fill in the other hours with mine, but it didn't work. However, I kept in touch with her and I used her periodically. Now my main nanny I ended up hiring is from Belize, and I am telling you, she is absolutely fabulous. I found her, so funny enough, you know, I went to, I think there's like care.com that people used, the Facebook mommy group, you know, you reach out to your friends, see who's available, whatever, blah, blah. Anyways, so actually, an ex of mine, I am still friends with his roommate's mom, ex-roommate's mom, former roommate's mom, whatever. They didn't have a falling out or anything. And so I randomly reached out to her, or she reached out to me on Instagram. And I just said, you know, I was just putting it out there in the universe. I was like, hey, do you know anybody? Do you happen to know anybody that has nannied, or did you use a nanny? And she just was like, you know what? You know who would be really good? And she told me this other girl's name who was also friends with my ex. She's like, why don't you reach out to her and see? And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. You know, she's got kids. And so I reached out to her. She gave me she was so helpful. You know, I thought these people hated me because, you know, I actually had broken up with that guy a long time ago, and it was, you know, it was not a great breakup in the sense of, it was a hard breakup. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. So anyway, she gave me a couple numbers, and that's how I found the Belize nanny. And she speaks perfect English. Yeah, that's their first language. They were, you know, taken over by Britain. Don't quote me on any of this. I'm not a very good history buff. But anyways, so my recommendation, I'm talking about nanny, I'm going off in tangents, is, you know, put it out there. I think with anything in life, you have to put it out there. If there's something that you are needing from the universe. I needed a nanny, and I needed a good one, and I needed one. So I didn't find my Filipino nanny at that time. However, I found a fantastic nanny. I'm still friends with her today, and she periodically has been a while, but she's, she has taken care of my daughter since. But so anyways, fast forward. So she takes care of her for a year. Then she ends up hurting her shoulder, dislocating her shoulder, I believe, having to get surgery, and she couldn't pick her up, all this stuff. So I need to scramble and find another nanny. Now, the Filipino nanny, this is where she comes in. The Filipino nanny that I used periodically in the beginning happened to have a friend who just kind of did it every now and then. And so come when I needed a backup nanny, because I had 2 or 3 always in rotation, she had recommended, hey, my friend, so every now and then does that. Do you want to meet her? And I said, sure, I'll meet her. And so I met her. She was Filipino. And my Belizean nanny needed to go back to Belize. And this was in August of 2022. She needed to go back to Belize for a little bit. I think her mom was getting sick. She wanted to see her family. She just got her residency. So that's another thing. She was is legal. And, it's not, I didn't seek that out, but it was a nice bonus. I liked that she was legal. Excuse me. But it wasn't a requirement of mine. I didn't mind either way. My Filipino nanny was going to take care of my daughter for a little bit, but she ended up introducing me to another nanny, one of her good friends, and I was like, okay, so how's this gonna work? And she's like, well, she needed to just jump in every now and then and take care of Mila, and then have her friend do the other days, because she had that kind of schedule still with her current family. And I had decided, and I'm not sure if she was a little mad at first. I think she was upset at first. I decided, listen, I'm just going to go with your backup nanny, your friend. And she's like, oh, well, I need the money and all this stuff. And that's fine. I understand that. But for me, it was like, I wanted someone consistent for Mila. So I said, listen, I can keep you in rotation, but because it was like a 6-week long thing, and I was like, I can't go back and forth in between all of these nannies and have Mila not have consistency. So I didn't like that. So I ended up going with this other nanny. Now my daughter cried a lot at first because she didn't know who she was. So she cried. I thought something was wrong with this nanny. Her mom, it was funny because her mom from the Philippines was here too. So I don't know if that was like messing up Mila a little bit, but I was a little leery. I was like, oh geez, when my Belizean nanny coming back? And then anyways, so she comes back. I ended up using her for, the 4 to 6 weeks or however long it was. I can't remember now. And the Belizean nanny comes back. So she comes back, but then she dislocates her shoulder and ends up getting some note that says she can't work anymore. She can't pick up my daughter. And my daughter was only a little over a year at that time, and still needed to be picked up every now. She's 2.5 now, and she still needs to be picked up every now and then. So I needed someone that was going to be able to do that. So I went back to the Filipino nanny. And my current nanny, my Belizean nanny, was actually recommending it. So it's not like she was upset by that. She was recommending it because she's like, I'm not gonna be able to pick up Mila. I wanna make sure she's safe, whatever, blah, blah. Can you use your backup nanny for the time being until I'm back on my feet? I said, of course, sure, yeah. So I asked the backup nanny, hey, are you looking for a full-time gig? Here it is. And it's funny that I wanted to try out again, even though Mila was crying, but it was toward the end, I really saw them kind of bond. And so I was like, okay, well, I need someone. I trust her and I like her. And, I don't know what's going on with, Mila not being completely happy with her. But she ended up being absolutely amazing. And I can't say enough good things. I've said this a million times before. I think I found the 2 best nannies in the world I don't have too many other nanny experiences to compare to, but the two that I found, the one from my friend and the one from my backup nanny's friend, ended up being the best. And let me tell you why. Or why I think so, rather. My daughter at about 11 months old, because of the Filipino nanny and probably her Belizean nanny, knew her ABCs. And I think 10, 11 months old at that point is very, very, I think, impressive to know the ABCs. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I knew the ABCs at that time. But anyways, so she did the Filipino nanny, and I'm not disclosing names just because I don't want to disclose any names. Ended up doing so much with her. She was a teacher back in the Philippines. And I mean, so I put Mila into daycare when she was 2 years old, right when she hit 2 years old, just a few days after. And I cried. I bawled my eyes out when the first nanny got her shoulder dislocated. And then I bawled my eyes out again when Mila went to daycare at 2 years old. It was awful. I mean, so, you know, because I was a single mom, right? So to find someone that is basically your partner in life, raising your child while you're at work, trying to make a very good living and future for your kid, was absolutely heart-wrenching to let go of. You almost are like, you know, because I didn't have, you know, I'm not with her dad, and so I didn't have help besides her. So she became family. They both became family. They raised Mila with me and were there for me through it all. They saw me cry through certain things. You know, obviously the Filipino nanny is married with her own kids, and her whole family, it was like a village. Her whole family was all in. You know, her husband would help with electrical things around the house. Like, they picked me up from the airport when I would go visit, you know, my parents in Michigan with Mila. I mean, there were some things that I don't want to forget because I was alone. I was alone during those times. I had some really dark days. I didn't know what was going on with, you know, Mila's dad and such. That's for a different day to talk about, but it was a lot, you know, and these people were mine, and they were Mila's, and you know, it ends up, we still do use that. So, oh my gosh, I went on the most complete tangent. I was trying to tell you about how to find a nanny and how to go on vacation. So I did end up going on vacation with Mila. But the first part of the vacation, my Filipino nanny took care of Mila for the first 2 days. And it was great. No, it was awesome. I mean, you know, because she stayed the night, her whole family stayed the night. And yeah, so anyways, it was the most long-winded way to say that in order to find a nanny, you need to put it out there in the universe, and you need to be willing. I know now those nannies are at least $25 an hour, and it's worth it for me. I wasn't making a ton of money. I'm still not making a ton of money at the time, but that's where I put my dollars. I put my dollars into finding a really good nanny, ones that I loved, ones that I trust, and ones that became family. And I highly recommend you find that. For, you know, like, some people like to use babysitters here and there, you know, shave off a few dollars here and there. It was my top priority. Now, if you can find that bargain, I mean, they weren't charging anything ridiculous or over market, you know. you know, and even to the point where if I wanted to go and hang out with my friends, there was like some negotiations that they would do for me, because there was like, you have to, at that time too, like, and even now, you have to pay a flat, like not a flat, but you have to guarantee 40 hours a week. Once you hire these nannies around, at least California, it's, I want to be full-time, it's 40 hours a week or nothing. Whether you need to go on vacation or not, I'm getting paid 40 hours a week. So when I would go out of town, when there was a holiday, they get paid holidays, it's you pay, right? So what she did, what my first nanny had done that was really nice, is she allowed me to switch the hours sometimes. So like if I, let's say, wasn't working one day and I wanted to go out later and see some friends, she would let me switch the hours to like 2 to like 10 p.m. 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and she would allow that. And I thought that was nice. I don't think a lot of nannies do that because they're very corporate. They don't want that kind of leniency, but we became friends and family and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm not sure if that's helpful at all, but basically my checklist was tell your friends, tell your family, tell the people in the area. Yep, there's my little one now. And go on the Facebook groups, do it all, put it out there in the universe, and get the nanny that you want. And pay that money, honey. Okay, gotta